Parliament condemned Riek Machar for recruiting children to fight as rebels. Rendering Justice for All Legal Aid Act ready for enactment. A respected elder of the Bari community dies at the age of 108. Hello and welcome to South Sudan Television. Wherever you have tuned in, we are coming to you live from Juba with the latest news from around the country. My name is Grang John. In his 2 days visit to Kajokeji County, the Vice President James Wani Iga acquainted himself with the performance of various government institutions in the county. In a related development, the Vice President also visited Kajokeji military barracks and security forces for maintaining peace and stability in the country.
فوق وقت تلقنا لكنه من لسه كي حاجه معجمين في محلات ثانيين هناك. المهم لنا ده الناس اللي بيجي يسرق على عمليات ده وعلى وقت تلقنا ده وعدايات ده قال يجي يسوق في محلات كله.
The Speaker of the National Assembly, Manasseh Magog Rundial, called on the UN to hold the rebel leader Riek Machar and his group accountable for recruiting children to fight for this selfish cause. Speaker Magog was speaking in Juba on Wednesday during his meeting with the visiting Executive Director for UN Women, Famzil Mlambo. The Speaker appeals to the international community to condemn the rebel leader and his group for using children to fight the government.
Assembly, Manasseh Magog Rundial, has called on the UN to hold the rebel leader and his group for recruiting children to fight for their selfish cause. Speaker Magog was speaking in Juba on Wednesday during his meeting with the visiting Executive Director for UN Women, Famzile Mlambo Chukwu. The Speaker urges the international community to condemn the rebel leader and his group for using children to fight the government.
The child soldiers, our brothers, are actually using small children as soldiers. It is not good. You on your side, you should caution those who are using small children to fight on their prejudice, their credentials, they are so disgruntled with the government. If they want to fight, let them fight the government without using small boys, without using 15, 12 years old to fight on their behalf. It is unfortunate. We have been hearing old radios and so forth. Nobody actually has come up with it, condemning it. This is worth condemning. It should be condemned. Small children cannot be used as child soldiers.
On her part, the Executive Director for Women, Famzile Mlambo Chukwu, said her organization is present in South Sudan to support gender equality and women empowerment, which has already resonated in South Sudan and embedded in the national constitution.
Within the broader UN family, our work and responsibility is to support and to promote gender equality and women's empowerment, which I know resonates very well in South Sudan because that is entrenched in the constitution of this country, which has made it possible for us to collaborate to the extent that we have.
So we're supporting the women to increase.
In a separate development, the Executive Director for Women, Famzile Mlambo Chukwu, said her mission to Juba is to assess the humanitarian impacts of the December 15th failed coup attempt. Speaking in a news conference in Juba, Mlambo said she's here to help address the challenges facing women in the country. She added that the women and the children have suffered the most during the crisis.
Participation of women and inclusion in the political talks that are continuing in Addis Ababa. This was not the first time that we are doing this already. Right at the beginning of the talks, we already reached out through IGAD to the government as well as the opposition forces to urge the inclusion of women in line with our Security Council Resolution 1325, which expects women to participate fully in times of conflict, in peacemaking, in the negotiations and the discussions, in the implementation of the outcomes of the peace process, in monitoring and evaluation, and in all other related modalities, which include peace, nation building, which is very much critical also for this country. So I've had an opportunity to discuss with the women directly, meeting them for the second time, the emerging and the very strong and driven women of Sudan who are calling themselves the Sudanese Women for Peace, who we intend to support and to ensure that they take that message and activities throughout the country, in every state, not just in capitals, but going down to the grassroots in order to involve as many women as possible in the call and activities that are related to peace.
The executive director also expressed her readiness when she said that UN Women will work hand in hand with the Women for Peace to bring about peace in the country. She added that her and her members are working hard to see that women are part of the ongoing peace talks delegation in Addis Ababa. Reporting for SSTV News, I'm Biko Amaria.
Egypt is calling on Juba to convene another meeting on the Nile water resources, saying Cairo is facing difficulties with the new idea of redistribution. The Egypt ambassador to the country, Ayman Al-Gamal, made the remark during his meeting with the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Dr. Barnaba Marial Benjamin, in Juba on Wednesday. Martin Jada reports.
In the Nile Basin meeting in South Sudan, some countries felt unsatisfied with the outcomes of the summit. Egypt, which heavily depends on the Nile water for its agriculture, felt the resolution of the meeting was not fair in the sense of which country needs more water and which needs less. The Egyptian ambassador in South Sudan, Ayman Al-Gamal, said the decision of the Nile Basin countries not only affects Egypt but also South Sudan.
In the issue of irrigation, according to the data, the loss of water in South Sudan is around 1,000 billion cubic meters, and this can be some of this water can be saved through projects like clearing of waterways. We already have a project with the Ministry of Irrigation to clear 100 kilometers in Bahr al-Ghazal. These types of projects help the flow of the water and increase the availability of water for irrigation as well as for consumption.
The Egyptian ambassador in South Sudan said its government is also working to see how Egypt could join peacekeeping mission in the country.
Have a discussion about the proposal of Egypt to participate in the peacekeeping operation here in South Sudan. We are proposing to participate with a level 2 hospital, but there is a misunderstanding on whether South Sudan is refusing participation from Islamic countries or not. And this is something that we were clarifying with His Excellency the Minister, who is supporting the participation of Egypt in UNMISS.
Egypt, which is also on the medical attention in South Sudan, is planning to refurbish Salva Kiir Memorial Hospital. Ambassador Gamal said the refurbishment will include outpatient clinic, X-ray, operation and emergency unit, and incubators for children.
We also are collaborating with the Ministry of Health in providing a medical center that is going to be incorporated in the President Salva Kiir Memorial Hospital that is supposed to be opened by July during the independence celebrations. It will contain 3 outpatient clinics, 1 X-ray unit, a theater operation, and emergency unit, as well as incubators for children and 2 endoscopy units.
The hospital was planned to open on July during the independence celebration. Martin Jere Gabriel, SSTV News, Juba.
The Ministry of Education, Science and Technology has donated an assortment of mattresses to Bor, Bentiu and Upper Nile States hospitals, respectively. Diakwe Paul Machue has more on the story.
The Minister of Education, Science and Technology has donated an assortment of mattresses to Bor, Bentiu and Malakal teaching hospitals. The three hospitals have been badly looted by Riek Machar and his rebels. The donation was handed over by the Minister of Education, Dr. John Gayo, to his health counterpart, Dr. Riek Gaikok, at Rumbur Teachers Training Institute.
Which we thought was very useful in the hospitals than here for now, and this will be useful to our hospital in Bor, in Bentiu and in Malakal, and we have handed them over officially. So that they can start sending them to those places.
In separate development, the Minister of Education, Science and Technology, Dr. John Gayo, discussed with the visiting Executive Director for UN Women the process of supporting girl child education in the country. The meeting was attended by the Minister of Justice, Paulino Wanawela. Dr. John Gayo said the government is committed to support women in the country. He also said the government is offering 200 scholarships to girls this year.
Particularly issues related to women, gender and women violence, and other issues that we felt were very important. The government has made commitment to protect women, and particularly in the participation of the women in the ongoing peace, and also issues of violence and issues related to the law.
We have discussed between the UN Women, the Ministers of Education and Justice, about the collaboration that we can have for capacity building in the areas of literacy for women, to support girls to stay at school longer, as well as with the Minister of Justice on how we could build the capacity within South Sudan for the police to be able to prosecute gender-based violence.
The government has always expressed its readiness to improve and promote education of girls throughout the country. Diakwe Paul Machue, SSTV News.
A new dawn is emerging in the judicial system of South Sudan. Lack of legal fee has been an obstacle to some people convicted of different crimes from accessing justice due to high costs involved. This situation is likely to become history as the Ministry of Justice now resort to legal aid. Justice Ministry, in collaboration with the United Nations Development Programme UNDP office in the country, have begun a 3-day consultative workshop on the need to promote access to justice for all through the Legal Aid Act. Our reporter Hawa Rebecca has more on this story.
The Legal Aid Act will pave way for those who are in custody awaiting to answer charges on various crimes labeled against them and may not afford hiring lawyers to defend them in the court of law. The Ministry of Justice, in collaboration with the United Nations Development Programme, have opened a 3-day consultative workshop in Juba to come up with an initiative that would help people who commit crimes and cannot defend their cases. The workshop will center on identifying principles and timelines for drafting and enactment of Legal Aid Act, presentation and validation of draft legal aid forms, among other cross-cutting issues. Speaking to SSTV during the opening session of the workshop, the Undersecretary in the Ministry of Justice, Jeremiah Swaka, said the legal aid will help those who are faced with serious crimes and cannot afford to hire lawyers to defend them.
The workshop is organized by the Ministry of Justice in collaboration with the UNDP. It is a workshop that was planned earlier, even before December. It has to do with preparing the necessary mechanism for the provision of legal aid. Legal aid, you know, is the right of every South Sudanese that is having a criminal problem that is very serious according to Article 19 of the Constitution, Transitional Constitution 2011. And therefore, for us to provide the legal aid to our people, we thought of making the necessary documentation and papers, including forms, so that you can be helped how to determine whether somebody is really a pauper and cannot defend himself or herself or themselves when they are in court facing serious criminal charges according to the Constitution. Therefore, the workshop is for this purpose, to develop the necessary means through which, first of all, you will determine who is somebody who has no money to hire a lawyer to defend themselves or herself or himself. The workshop has brought in the members of the civil society, our colleagues and friends from the rule of law institutions, the police, the prisons, and their other organs, so that we work together and develop these mechanisms together. We hope that in future the country will have enough resources for us to provide legal aid. More importantly, we have brought in even our advocates from the market, because they also will have to provide legal aid to our people without being paid. That is called pro bono legal aid.
The workshop is being attended by more than 20 participants drawn from legal institutions across the 10 states of the country. Hawa Rebecca, reporting for SSTV.
The governor of Northern Bahr el Ghazal State, Paul Malong Awan, addressed a gathering in Awil to enlighten the population on the genesis of the current conflict in some parts of the country, which erupted after the December 15th failed coup attempt in Juba led by Riek Machar. The governor warned the local population against an attempt to incite ethnic violence, saying the political crisis was instigated by power-hungry politicians, adding that the masterminders would face the law.
تعبير عن الشعور لناس الولاية كان فقدونا almost شهرين ما كنت موجود معهم بالتالي طلعوا برا أمتهم كلها يوم الوصول بتاعي في الولاية وعبرت برضه نشارك معهم.
هنا احنا في مركز بتاعت المكسحين وهم يقوموا بالبرنامج الليله هو جنبه الحاكم طبقوا والحاكم جاء ويتكلم معاهم وهم مبسوطين جدا يعني. وان شاء الله دائما كلام زي ده يحصل لانه ناسنا المكسحين دي الناس يعني مهمشين شويه في جنوب السودان لكن احنا في شمال بحر الغزال هنا احنا بنهتم بيهم.
The Deputy Governor of Lake State, Mabor Achol, says the security situation in the region is relatively calm and that the locals are going about their daily activities. The Deputy Governor, who arrived Juba from the state capital Rumbek on Wednesday, tells South Sudanese to give peace a chance, denouncing Riek and his group for taking the country back to dark days.
The negative in Lake State, the people think, and they are justified in their thinking, that the rebellion is not tribalistic in any kind. It is mere because some Dinkas, if it is a problem of Nuer and Dinka, then there are Dinkas. Yiji Majanga God, Choletong, Nyandeng, Garang, and etc. So it is not a tribal rebellion. It's a matter, Riek Machar and his group wants to topple the government, and so that they take over the leadership of South Sudan by force. So all the Dinkas and other Nuers, the Jews, the Baria, the Moro, the Zande, Latuka, and etc. are united to fight against such unscientific rebellion. Taking over of this is Republic of South Sudan should be by means of democracy. You go for elections, you are elected, you become president.
The Bureau for Religious Affairs and Faith-Based Organization in the Office of the President, in collaboration with South Sudan Breweries Limited (SSBL), have donated another consignment of food items to the internally displaced person who fled fighting in Jonglei last year and now camping at Aweria County in Lake State. Our reporter Eddie Stephen reports from Aweria.
The donation is a token of peace and prosperity to the people who are affected by the 15th December failed coup attempt. The Bureau of Religious Affairs and Faith-Based Organization Crisis Management in the Office of the President, in collaboration with South Sudan Breweries Limited, SSBL, have distributed assorted food items to thousands of internally displaced persons at Aweria County of Lake State. The consignment of food donation from South Sudan Breweries Limited was handed over by the Director of the Bureau, Moses Stella, to the Commissioner of Aweria County, Deng Tong, and was later distributed to the masses. Speaking to SSTV during the handover, Commissioner Deng Tong appreciated the material and spiritual support by South Sudan Breweries Limited and the Bureau of Religious Affairs to mitigate the challenges faced by the IDPs. The Commissioner, in addition, appeals to the government and other humanitarian agencies in the country to rehabilitate the roads to enable a smooth flow of emergency relief to the IDPs before the rainy season strikes.
The people have been sleeping under the trees for the last 2 months. The environment here is very cold at night. The children are coughing. I'm requesting the government to hire the NGOs so that the resettlement, the place that we have given, the county have given to the IDPs, is really done as soon as possible so that the people can move and be protected. Number two, another request, the roads from Juba to Minkaman is 140 kilometers. The road is really bad at the moment.
And the Director of the Bureau of Religious Affairs, Moses Stella, calls on other companies operating in the country, including non-governmental organizations, to join the drive and support the IDPs. Stella said the Bureau will continue with the visit to other areas hosting the IDPs to assess their living condition.
And today we are with our communities. We want to assure them that the food that's being brought by the well-wishers, we shall continue to plan and to make more visits in around southern Sudan. We are not going to stop from Aweria as such, but we are going to make it to other areas which are more affected by this crisis.
Meanwhile, the Commissioner of Bor County, Dr. Alier Agot, on behalf of the Jonglei government, expressed his gratitude to Lake State government for welcoming their brothers and sisters who fled fighting from Jonglei.
Well, we want you to carry the president in peace. These people whom you are seeing here, that are sitting under the trees here, they live actually with courage here. They are not depressed, they are not despaired, and despite all the difficulties they are in. What brought them here to be under the trees here is a man-made thing. And they live encouraging that one day justice will prevail on some of the criminals who actually made this act, who have killed my people, who have burned down my homes, and who have evicted them out of their areas.
The IDPs decried the appalling situation they experienced in the transit camps, saying no place is like home. Most of them recline under the trees with no better shelters, food, and other basic needs. But through their resilience, many are optimistic that peace will reign in the country so that they can return home. However, the cost of rebuilding their lives will be high. For SSTV News in Juba, I am Edir Stephen.
If rumors and lies are something to go by, then rumor mongers and liars are doomed to fail. The internet propaganda and scaring incitement have been proved wrong even by foreign nationals who have always been told by enemies of peace that South Sudan is not a safe place to be. A European woman identified as Miss Chanel has broken all the odds and brought her family to Juba, telling the world that South Sudan is safer than before.
That's why we come back, to see if we can save the situation, to give our best and to just create great peace again from our side.
I have no doubt that the situation is stable in Juba, because I've been coming in and out, and there is no reason to fear coming back to Juba. But now, the good example is that in this flight, yes, I arrived with, from Nairobi, I have a European woman with the two young babies. The first, between the other one is maybe 2 years, other one may be below 1 year. They just arrived together in the same flight. Now, if Juba is dangerous, South Sudan is dangerous, why should a European woman bring children of that age to Juba? There's not much we need to prove that Juba is safe than that example. And you have spoken to her, and then I think her message will speak for itself. That is a vote of confidence. I want to assure our people that what has been dramatized, that Juba is not secure, is not true. Number two, the international NGOs who has pulled and want to operate from neighboring country have no reason to be in a neighboring country. They have to come back and resume their duty. And then diplomats who has been pulled to the neighboring country also, they have to come home and start helping us to build the confidence in this country. The government is committed for ending this conflict through dialogue. Colleagues are discussing this thing now in Ethiopia, and we need to support them. And then we need to also, as a people of South Sudan, to urge our friends, whoever they are, to come back home to rebuild this country. We have no doubt that the tragedy which happened in December has set us back. But this is something which we are very optimistic we can overcome these challenges and move forward. I want to appeal to our people to put the country before anybody else. Reconciliation in this country is not a must, but it's the paramount for us to move forward. This country needs all of us and various media sessions.
The most respected elder of the Bari community, Paul Jaja, has died in the Kenyan capital Nairobi after a long illness. He was 108 years. The late Paul Loku Jaja was born in 1906. Thousands of people gathered at St. Teresa Cathedral in Juba to pay their last respect. His body will be laid to rest in his home village of Komeru in northern Bari Payam. Henry Jada reports.
The body of late Paul Lako Jurkin, known as Paul Jaja, arrived Juba on Wednesday. Late Paul Lako was born in 1906 and died on 14th of this month in Nairobi after a long illness. The body of late Paul was received at Juba International Airport by the Deputy Governor of Central Equatorial State, Manas Lomolewaya, and other senior officials from national and state governments. Late Paul Jaja was a senior citizen from Central Equatoria State who has participated to free the nation from marginalization and injustice. He was also a reference of Bari community. Addressing the mourners at St. Teresa Church of the Catholic Archdiocese of Juba, Bishop Santo Locupio called on the family of late Paul to stay in peace and unite among themselves. Bishop Santos sent condolences to the family of late on behalf of the Archbishop of the Catholic Archdiocese of Juba, Paulino Lukudu Loro.
لأنه يتأكد عشان يكون واحد مننا ويعيش معنا في هذا فترة في الدنيا وخاصة في جنوب السودان. Today we are praying for another senior citizen of this state that God has called from among us.
The body of Paul will be laid to rest in his home village in Kemiru of Northern Bari Payam, Juba County, Central Equatoria State. The death of Paul Jaja is a great loss to the people of South Sudan, particularly the citizens of Central Equatoria State.
Citizens are those individuals that God is tribulating to reach a certain status in life. And for this reason, they deserve our respect. They deserve our support. They deserve our prayer. نحن جايين بس نصلي مع بعض لزول مسكين ده.
God give and God take. May his soul rest in eternal peace. Reporting for South Sudan Television in Juba, I am Henry Jada John.